This is this is going to be our first of a series of films, I guess, based on Desolate Front, which is a board game that we hope will be getting ready for Kickstarter sometime next year. This is to get kind of people juiced up to come see us in our booth at PAX. I'm one of the co-designers. I'm Raz. This is Rich. Rich is on the other side. He's the bigger guy. I'm the one in the really sexy hat. Cool. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to show you just how the game is set up and possibly go through a turn or two just to kind of get your juices flowing and see what happens as the creatures start coming out. Ignore that. I'm going to silence that phone because really that's unprofessional and I really should know better. So yeah, we're going to explain how the corruption track works, how monsters, some of them will be able to move around the board with you, some will stay put and protect gates, and we'll talk a little bit about the sit rep reports, character cards, how you go about getting your dice pool together. So really it's going to be just a quick overview and setup of turn one, and we're hoping that you'll find this very interesting because we've put some of the feedback we've gotten from Gen Con and from, other playtests, and we've kind of made and streamlined the game a little bit more, so we're real excited about where we're at this point. Anything we should add to that?
No, I think you got it pretty much covered.
I wasn't supposed to be the one talking tonight, but as usual, I just jump right in and start doing it. So why don't we go over what elements are on the board? Rich, you want to go over some of that, or you want to keep setting up?
No, go ahead and go over everything.
Okay.
I'm going to continue getting ready for the first turn.
Okay, so when Desolate Front is sent up, this is the 2-player version. You'll be playing with 6 tiles. Some of the things you see on the tiles are gates, and that's a gates counter, and they're placed in the center. The 2 teams will start opposite sides. You also see these symbols, which is Enochian script. Enochian or Enochian, Rich?
Enochian.
Enochian script.
Or Enochian.
Or Enochian, depending on if you're in the South America. And they represent just the places where gates may shift or move on us, depending on actions that could happen based on cards and some randomization as we go. You're also going to see here one of the most important parts of our game of Desolate Front is the corruption track. So the corruption track with 2 players is only going to go up to number 12. In a 3-player game, you'd have up to 18 corruption before, if you hit 19, the game would be a fail. On the corruption track, you're going to see numbers across the bottom. That tells you how much the battlefield has suffered, not just from the death during the day, but from the evil and the chaos at night. Things going wrong. The forces of evil beginning to turn the tide. Also, you have a positive and negative line, which is called polarity of the ley line. So across the board, magic is flowing in mystical lines called ley lines. And depending on certain cards that are played or things that happen in the Fog of War deck, which I'll explain in a moment, the polarity may shift. Sometimes that's a good thing for certain teams. Some teams prefer a more negative polarity. Some teams work better in positive. Creatures, though, always want more of a negative because that's when they break ties on initiative. Other things you're going to see on the board right now, you're going to see Spoils of War. These are cards that are given when a creature is successfully defeated or a gate is closed. You're going to see Creatures of War, which are the monsters that we will face. They are randomized. Certain scenarios, they will be laid out for you. You may have easier monsters in some spots, depending on how we write the scenarios out, but this is the intro one. So there's going to be a little bit of randomness to it. And then you see Fog of War. Fog of War are the elements on the battlefield that are continuously changing and evolving. Fog of War can be used by yourself, and sometimes that's a positive, sometimes that's a negative, or you can play it against another player and watch their face turn bright red as you do horrible things to them. Normally, though, when you affect someone in a negative way, you're advancing corruption. Hopefully, if you're taking it to yourself and doing good, trying to absorb some of those bad things on your own, you're affecting corruption negative in a better way and pulling it down. So that basically the game is cooperative in that sense. We don't want to ever exceed in a 2-player game 12. If we hit 13, we both lose, and the battlefield's been lost for that night. Evil has won. Other things you're going to see right now are the character cards. Each team has 2. You have a scrapper. If you see me, don't worry about that, that's mine. And you have a caster. And these are part of a fighting force that is brought in by the nations that are at war. And at night, these tandems or duos go out into the battlefield, trying to suppress the gates, kill the monsters, and hopefully put down whatever boss is spawned on us. In this case, he'll be the Chosen. Right?
Correct.
In the initial scenario, they'll be the Chosen. Some of the monsters we'll be facing, with this amazing artwork here, you can see, are the Unsettled Dead, Apostates, Vermin, Rift Terror, very, very mean, Ravenous, they suck, and the Feral. Bosses at this point that you might face in the game would be the Apostate's Chosen, we call him just the Chosen, or the Soul Stealer. This time, though, we're going to hopefully be getting to where we get to a point where we actually spawn, and then we're able to defeat the Apostate Chosen. Okay, so you can see the game looks real good. I think some of the artwork came out really sexy. One other thing. As you're looking at the board, there's a lot going on. It's not as confusing as it appears. It basically is the ley lines, as we talked about, are the movement mechanic for the game. So as my characters move, they need to get from points of battlefield to different points. These are not one continuous line. These are spread out over the course of the front. So this might be in zone 1, there may be a problem, and then in zone 7, there may be a problem. But you understand, it's over a long space of landscape. To move, I would set my dice up in my character card, which we'll explain in a moment. And when I have a sufficient amount of movement, I will exit via the arrows and follow in their wake. So from here, if I was to exit A, I would wrap around to this point and come out here in an exit spot. So circles are exit spots, and entrance spots are the arrows, and they'll tell you where to go. For instance, if I exited here on B, I would go to this tile and appear directly in front of it. That one just happened to be kind of neat and easy. All right. So, what else did I forget before rolling dice? Anything
All right,
else on
so
setup?
first thing is setup. So you see we've got the 2 gates already up.
Yep.
Those are pre-planned by scenario where they're going to be. For the 2-person intro scenario, they're in the 2 center tiles. Now, the first thing we're going to do is set some creatures up, and normally it's just random, but I'm just going to let Bruno pick which 2 he's going to put on the 2 tiles in front of him.
These are mine.
Yep. You got all Apostates, I got all Unsettled Dead. Alright. So, for the start, they are placed in base contact with a gate. Oops. Polarity.
Mm-hmm.
So, positive polarity. They are set up. There. Okay. Alright, so let me shuffle this up. Alright, if you want to put those back into Creatures of War, shuffle that deck up. And then draw 2 cards for the gates, 1 for each gate. Alright, so as you can see, creatures, right from the start, you're going to have to start dealing with them. And it will be a race to close gates. Now, I am shuffling right now the creature action decks, which will tell us what the creatures do on their activation. Alright, so
let's reveal. We have more Apostates
and a Ravenous.
He got the Ravenous on his side.
Yeah.
I shuffled it really good for that.
Alright, so Ravenous is the equivalent of a lieutenant. And then we need another Apostate. So he's a little bit tougher, which means I may choose not even to go for that gate. I might go for the other one.
Hence, I think we'll leave that gate for later.
So, though the game is somewhat cooperative, you are competing against each other. And what you'll be doing is you'll be collecting knowledge points throughout the game. You get knowledge points every time you kill something. You get knowledge points for things you collect during the game, and you get knowledge points for closing gates.
Right.
So you are competing against one another. You just have to realize that you've got to pay attention to that corruption track, and you may need to work with one another. So
yeah, popping shots off at the other team, while that may weaken them and put you in a better position short term, you may find that the final boss is a little too much to handle with just 3 of the 4 characters in play. So while you want to you don't want them to run rampant and collect all the knowledge points out from under you. You want to make sure everyone's kind of getting their share. The end result could be that you have no choice but to take someone down if they're being incredibly aggressive, but that does tend to make the job at the end a little bit more difficult. So there is definitely a balance there. You have to find out, can I work together for that short period of time? And in this case, with the teams that we've chosen, we have representing the side of, there are really no sides, but the Americans are being represented here, played by Rich, and I'm going to take on the Ottoman Empire. So
the Allies and the Central Powers.
Yeah, it's probably the nicest way of saying it. The Allies and the Central Powers.
That's what they.
Let's not talk about historically. Rich. We're not going to use the actual. It's the Central Powers.
All right, so the draw.
Yep.
So start
Sure.
off
Yeah.
6 cards.
In our hand.
Yeah, you start off with there's 12 cards in each player's deck. You start off with 6 in your hand.
Now the cards are interesting because depending on, it'll tell you the team. It gives you the name of the ability. It tells you what stat line on your character card as we go over it. You'll see there's 5 stats: shooting, melee, arcane, spirit, and movement. This card, for instance, is a movement card. It'll tell you what the target number is here. It'll tell you what its effects are and if it has any special effects. It also may have a discard ability. A discard ability can be played even if a character gets wounded or down beyond the line. It discards to allow us to grab a power die. Power die are these special dice that can be used in a multitude of ways to help you win the game or better your chances. The other neat thing is that every card has a picture of who it is associated with. In this case, this is my scrapper. And over here, it shows the team that it's for in case the cards ever get messed up and things like that. It's the right team. So that was a decent card, but I'm going to reshuffle because I'm that kind of a guy.
Because he doesn't want to get caught on camera cheating.
Right. And to those of you at Gen Con who played Game of Thrones with me, I did not do that. Alright, so I have my 6 cards. I made a mess of the board for a second. Okay, and we're going to roll. And I rolled like cat vomit.
Alright.
So this becomes your dice pool. The 8 dice that you have. In this case, I'll show you real quick. I rolled 2 2s, 3 1s, a 4, 5, and a 6. And again, I'm going to be placing them to maximize my character card and my stats so that I can do as much as I can between the 2 characters. Each character, though, can only take 1 action off of any stat line. So if I put 2 dice in here to achieve something in Arcane, and I add a 3rd die, even if I had a card for that, I can only play 1 ability off each stat line per card, per character, okay? Rich rolled a lot better than he's already placing, so I think he's trying to tell me to
Move it along.
move it along. But I haven't even read all my cards yet.
Now, the other thing to know also is you can play as many cards in your hand as you can place dice for to trigger the effect of the card.
Yep.
However, you can only play each stat ability once. So if I play a card for my close combat, I can't play another card using close combat for this character.
So, one of the things you have to account for when you're setting up your character card is initiative. Initiative is determined by the scrapper. Whatever you put here in the first position will set initiative. In this case right now, Rich is showing a 3. If I am able to put any number higher than that, my team would go first. If I put a 3 though, then it goes down to total number invested. So in this case, Rich would have a total of 6. I would have a 3 in position 1, and whatever my other dice added up, that would determine which team. If a team wins, both characters go at the same time. So it's once a team is ready to go, both characters will activate and one at a time they will do what they have to do. And then once the activation of a character is done, you go on to the second one, and then once that's done, you pass the turn. I have some really, really rough cards, so I am going to be doing a lot of nothing up front the first time. I got kind of a raw bum deal.
Now, one of the things when you're facing creatures is, and this is something you'll learn as you play the game, certain creatures have certain things they're better at. For example, I'm in front of the Unsettled Dead. Unsettled Dead are always going to be attacking in close combat or spirit. They never attack with range. They never attack with magic. So I know I can put my defenses in those things and I should be covered. As I shift some dice around thinking about that. Bruno, on the other hand, has the Apostates, and they are good at range and at close, but they don't do Spirit or Arcane. So again, he's got to try and plan his defenses around those things, especially if he doesn't have any dice to really trigger a card effect.
Right. Now, Rich, why don't you explain about if you have a real, which we did not plan, but it works good this way. What happens if you have a hand where none of your cards have an offensive ability or work in this manner, and we have a base damage kind of situation?
Correct. So each character has a base attack of sorts. For each die you put into the stat, you'll gain a certain thing. For example, my Scrapper, his base attack is close combat. And for each die I put into the close combat, he gets a move 1, damage 1. So if I put 3 dice in there, he could move 3, do damage 3. I don't have to worry about that. I have cards that I can use. My dice rolls are okay.
Yeah.
But he could do that. The Ottoman Scrapper has range for his. And then both casters oh no, your caster actually has Spirit. Yours is the only one that actually has Spirit. The others all have Arcane.
That's correct. Okay.
All right, so now the corruption track. One last thing about that. You see, we're already starting with corruption 2. There are 2 gates on the board. Your corruption starts at 2. You have 4 players. Your corruption's going to have 4 gates. 1 gate for each player. You're going to have corruption 4. Now, other gates can pop into this, so that can start
really chunking it out.
Yeah. Plus, each turn, if there are gates open, it advances again. So you really have to move quickly to close gates, but you can't close a gate until you eliminate the creatures that are on the board with it.
Yep.
So on the tile with it, I should say, not on the board.
Correct.
All right, so one last thing. These are the initiative dice for the creatures.
So now that we've placed, now the monsters get to roll initiative. That way we can't just outbid them every time. So now we'll see what happens.
All right, so we're lucky in that the
low-level guys
are
going to move on 1 or the slowest.
The lieutenants are going to move on 3. And the boss, if he suddenly appears this turn for some reason, would move on initiative 4.
Correct.
Now, if the initiative's already gone, and for some reason a creature gets drawn, that creature would automatically take its action then, unless its activation is still to come. So that you won't ever bypass a creature.
Correct.
All right. Now,
Fog of War.
Fog of War. This is where the fun starts. Go ahead, you can draw first.
But I have a lower initiative, Rich. That means he set the first card up to blow it in my face.
Okay, maybe I shuffle these.
Let me rethink that for a moment.
All right, so yes, whoever has the... Actually, no, you would draw first for Fog of War.
It would be played in the reverse order, correct? So yes, I would have to take the first card, but I may reshuffle. So, allow me to draw that Fog of War card, Rich, and I will play that. So I draw a card, and in reverse order now, because you want the guy who has the best initiative to have a chance to react to whatever is played on the board. I get Death from Above. Somehow he got this back to the top. So there is some flavor text, which was written by a very powerful young author, but we'll go through that later. But what happens is, it says if you keep this card, everyone, including enemies on your tile, suffer a Strength 5 ranged attack. So basically a Zeppelin dropped a bomb. and then that's just what happens. If I play this card on Rich, on my opponent, everyone, including enemies on your opponent's tile, take 4 damage and advance the corruption track by 2. So a Zeppelin is moving over. There's Zeppelins everywhere. If I take it, I take damage, but so do the creatures on my tile, and I do not advance the corruption track. If I give it to Rich, his guys will blow up, Rich will take some damage, and I'll advance the corruption track by 2. It's pretty early in the game. I don't like getting hurt, and I really had bad combat cards, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play this on Rich, and I'm going to advance the corruption track by 2, and let him sort of sort out how he's going to take that damage, and the monsters take the damage.
All right, so everyone, including enemies on your opponent's tile, take 4 shooting. All right, so let's steal some tokens here. 4 shooting. So looking at my defense for shooting right now, I kind of got screwed by this since I was planning for close combat against Unsettled Dead, and that's what Fog of War does. Is it messes up whatever plans you're going with.
Yeah, that was a big one too. That's a pretty mean death.
All right, so my Scrapper actually starts with a defensive 1 in close combat, so he's going to take 3. So 1, 2, 3. All right, my Caster on the other hand starts with 0 in shooting. He's going to take 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, so
the Unsettled Dead, as the chart tells us, have a defense of 3 in shooting.
Right.
It's pretty hard to kill a zombie with a shot. However, we did 4.
We did 4. They only have 1 wound.
Kaboom.
He's removed.
Okay, so the group took a total set of damage. It's not per monster in this case. The group itself would have needed 5 to kill the whole team.
Correct.
Yep, okay. So we were able to knock 1 out. Now, that does not... Part of Desolate Front is that it's the last creature in the group to fall is who gets the trophy and who gets to pick the spoils of war. So in this case, if I had dropped it on my guys, I probably would have killed them both and been able to get a spoil, which would help me long-term, for knowledge points. But in this case, I did the shitty thing, PG-13, dropped it on Rich, and we played it out. Now it's his turn to mess with me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which I'm going to, just because I like to.
Okay.
All right, I've got poison gas.
Well, stomach remedies are available for that.
All right, so if I keep this card, suffer a 3 spirit attack. This damage ignores defense.
Oh.
If you play this card on an opponent, your opponent suffers a 4 spirit attack, but I take a Bane token. So, I'm going to drop this on Bruno. I'm going to take the Bane token. Now, Bane at this point, because we're in the first section of the corruption track, Bane tokens are -1.
Yep.
If we had moved up to the second, Bane tokens would be at -2. So, you get hit with poison gas. I will take a Bane token. And where am I going to drop it? Now, with Bane tokens, they cover the last shown defense or movement stat that you have open. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop it on his Arcane.
Lowering his ability to ever... The most dice you can ever place is 3, but you always go with what's showing the past the die as your stat number. So right now, the best Rich could ever have is a 2.
Right. But if I put 3 dice in here, I actually go with 0 defense because that last one is covered. Now, that Bane token also counts as a -1 against the total of my dice in there.
Correct.
So if I needed a 7 and I put 7 in my dice, that -1 would bring it down to 6. I wouldn't be able to do anything.
Yep. Okay, now Spirit happens to be what we're pretty good at in the Ottoman Empire. So I have my caster has a base defense of 2, so he takes 2 points from the 4. And my Scrapper has a 1, so he's going to be 3. So he's going to take 3 points. And the Fog of War turn is over. And just that fast, we've changed the Corruption, if you can see that past the dice. The Corruption's doubled on us in 1 shot. We've both been wounded, and we have yet to step on the board. It was a big Fog of War turn. That was pretty heavy. All right, Rich, you're up.
I have initiative. I'm going on 3. This Unsettled Dead are going on 1. All right, but I have 4 in my movement. So I am going to start with my Scrapper. Again, he's got 4 in his movement. It's the last number shown. So you can move diagonally.
Yep.
So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to play the Haymaker card. which required a 15 plus to activate it, which I put in there. Gets +1 to my move. I didn't need it, but I would have had it there. It does damage 4.
Big shot.
But it also drops the target defense by 2. And I get to add a power die to 1 stat.
Wow.
So it was a lot of points to get that off, and I was actually planning for having to take 2 Unsettled Dead out, but that's what I got. So, the damage 4, Unsettled Dead only have defensive 1 in close combat, so he's taken out.
We'll show you that again. These are the defenses for the Unsettled Dead. 1, so Rich ends up killing it. So he'll get a Spoil of War card in a minute.
So I collect the creature card, because that has my knowledge points on the corner of it. So you don't have to track it on a track at all. Whatever cards you're collecting, that's going to give you what your knowledge points are.
At the end of the game, yep, for
All right.
who has the final victory.
So my power die, now power die are 1 to 3. I get a 1. Now, it's not 1 to 3 evenly spaced, just so you know.
Right.
3 1s, 2 2s,
and
1 3. And I'm going to take that 1 and I'm going to put it with my scrapper, even though it was my caster. Even though it was my scrapper who did the damage and everything, that power die can go to anybody on my team. In this case, I'm putting it with my caster because the caster has the ability to hold a power die. Normally, when you get a power die, you need to place it immediately into one of your stats. The casters all have a spot open where they can hold 1 power die.
Yep, to be used for anything for the team. So that's kind of their ability.
Right. All right, so that was his
Scrapper.
movement, his scrapper. All right, so I have a 1 movement with my caster. So he's just going to move his 1.
Okay.
And that is it.
All right, over to me. I put nothing in my scrapper's movement. So I'm going to activate first my mage. He has ability to move 2. He's going to go 1, 2. I think, hold on, what's my range on this for? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. He's going to throw Divine Protection, Armor of Divine Protection. He put it in the right stat, which is here. He needed a 5 or better. It gives a +2 armor token to my scrapper.
All right.
So he's buffing up his friend, and it's a +2 armor token, and we're going to put it against. We'll put it there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, or there. Put it there. For now. So he's done. He's not going to activate anything else. I put these dice here, even though they're pretty powerful dice, just to beef up some defense. That was my thought behind that, so in case he got attacked. My scrapper, though, is going to step on with his 1 movement. That's all he has. And he has 3 points and a range of 3. So 1, 2, 3. And he does up to 3 damage on ranged. In this case, the apostate has a defense of 2. So I'm able to kill 1 of them. And then we are set on our turn so far. Now the monsters will have their ability to fight back if they can.
Right. So if anybody had initiative 2, they would go. Then we get to initiative 1 with the creatures.
Right here, yep.
All right, so we've only got...
apostates.
Hold on 1 second.
Yep.
Ravenous goes on 3. Actually would have gone before you.
Yep.
So Unsettled Dead and the Apostates, they stay on their board. They don't move off the board unless there's somebody on there, they don't activate. However, certain creatures, the Ravenous being one of them, activates regardless of whether there's anybody on their board. So, the Ravenous, we are at corruption level 1 still.
Yep.
Does a move 3. Alright, so he's going to 1, 2, 3. And he will pop over to closest model. So yeah, the Ravenous actually can follow the ley lines. They can move.
Yeah, they're instinctive and clever enough to know that they can move around and hunt.
Right. So that's what he's done in this case. So I know that next turn, I've got to worry about whether or not he's going to pop on before I get off the board.
Okay, so now we can move the apostates.
All right, so we have the 1 apostate on yours. Now, this card would apply to all the apostates and Unsettled Dead on the board if there were other players, or if I had apostates or Unsettled Dead still on mine.
Yeah, they would all activate with this command.
Right.
And in this case, on corruption level 1, they do a range 3 attack. They do not move. So it's range 3. 1, 2, 3. Does not reach me there. He does reach my mage. With a range of 3 attack, I only have a defense of 1. I'm hit for 2. So the apostates looked at me and fired off some pistolas and shot Prince Kura Abdul Jahani in the chest, which did not work well. Okay.
All right, now. Oh, I forgot to take my spoils of war.
See, good thing we reminded him. Thanks, everyone out there in video land.
Yeah. All right, so that has gone through 1 turn.
Yep.
So we're gonna keep playing, and I'll probably turn the video back on in a couple of turns and let you see where things are at, rather than having you have to watch us go through each and every one of these turns. We'll see what else pops up.
Some things to remember. There is you can discard some cards in between turns if you don't like what's in your hand. You'll always draw back up to 6. Rich, what is it? 2 discards a shot?
Yes.
Okay, so every turn you can discard 2 cards and you can draw back up. Besides that, this is pretty much how we got the lay of the land right now, and we'll see you in like turn 3 or 4. Okay, so welcome back. This is beginning of turn 4 or 5?
Yes, 4.
Turn 4. So far, we've had some kills on the board. We've had some gates closed. Right now, the Americans are dealing with their gate. They just banished the Ravenous in a massive attack from Swing the Key because the American casters are one of the descendants of Ben Franklin. And on the Ottoman side, we were already very efficient, did our job, got across and took care of the key already. Took care of the gate already, rather. So we're just now we're in a waiting pattern to see if Rich can get the gate closed. The boss is going to spring into action. Somewhere a gate will pop and a boss will spring, and we're gambling that it's somewhere close by to the Ottomans because we're kind of set up to do some real serious damage if that goes off. But first, we're going to bring you back into the next stage. Our corruption right now is at 10. So time is getting of the essence, and we have a Fog of War set to play. So I am the slowest.
Yep, you are. You have
one and nothing else. So I'm going to grab my Fog of War first, and this one's going to be bad. This one's going to be tough because I don't think. No, I'm too hurt.
So am I.
Yeah, that's not an answer I can go with. So I drew landmine.
Oh.
The area has been saturated with mines. A wrong step could bring about disaster. It does. It's either effect movement. So if I keep this card, I take 3 spirit and 3 melee. I could probably absorb that, and I put a Bane token on movement. If not, Rich takes it, and we advance the corruption track by 1. I'll keep it. So my scrapper with a defense of 2 takes 1 point. My mage takes 1 point. We're down to 5 each. I don't advance the corruption track, and I get a Bane token on movement. So
and we are in 2.
Yeah, so that was a big mistake on my part. I should have really given that to Rich.
No, over the movement.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that's called taking one for the team.
Now, I'm gonna
double that.
I'm gonna drop this on Bruno, even though it's going to advance the corruption track.
What?
Because if I dropped it on me, I wouldn't be able to close the gate.
Oh, good.
And we're trying to get the gate closed, so...
No, we're not.
Well, we are now. So, something approaches. From out of the smoke of the battlefield, a shape begins to emerge. Is it friend, foe? Your hand tightens around your weapon.
And it's...
And it's a Ravenous!
So, the Ottomans stepped on a landmine just so that the Americans could drop a Ravenous on top of them. Good call. And we advanced the corruption track.
And we do advance the corruption track.
Okay. As co-designer of this game, I can tell you that wasn't the friendliest turn we've ever had. All right, Rich. Well, let's see if you can get that gate closed.
All right, so...
Oh, wait. Monsters are going yet. The Ravenous is going to jump me.
Oh, that's right. Ravenous goes first.
So because the monster came into play during the Fog of War, initiatives now start clicking. The Ravenous is a 4. By card placement of dice, we have nothing even close. So he's coming to wallop me pretty heavy. We're on level 2 for corruption, so he's going to move 3 and hit me with a spirit of 4. But my defense on spirit is 4, so that Ravenous can proverbially kiss it.
All right. So Ravenous is gone. I have enough points. Again, the corruption track is at level 2. Gates closed on 10 plus. I have 10 plus in arcane.
Yep.
That gate is closed. I draw a spoils of war. Okay. And all right. So final gate has closed. So for the intro scenario, when the final gate closes, the boss gate appears.
Ta-da!
So the boss gate will appear depending on where your corruption track is.
And what the polarity is, which we're still positive.
Right, we're still positive. It is going to drop on that symbol. So let me, got a gate there. All right, drop that gate on there. We drop the boss. So the boss is now in play. Now, the boss activates every turn. And the thing with the Chosen is one of his functions is he draws more creatures to him. So when he activates, it is the potential for more and more creatures to start piling up on that. So you want to spend a little bit of time to buff yourself before going into combat with the boss, but at the same time, you need to move quickly. Yes, and we're getting very close. All right, so that was my caster activated. He did that. Then I can't do that, and I can't reduce the corruption track because I already did one casting thing. Which means we're guaranteed to hit 12 unless Bruno has some way to reduce the corruption track.
Not yet. But I do have a way of, I have to deal with what I have in front of me right now. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to activate my Scrapper. He is going to do a spirit of 8 plus. He heals 2. So he is preparing himself for the inevitable beating that he thought was coming. So I will discard that. He has a movement of 2. So he is going to try to... he's going to get ready and start moving back. Oh, no. If I move backwards and the boss activates, we're going to hold... You know what? I'm going to slide through. Okay, so he came through. Now I have the Ottoman caster, Prince Kura, is going to play Recall. I have a 14 plus. It's a very powerful spell for him. Search the discard deck, and I just messed that up because I can't do that right now. Because what would have needed to happen was I would have wanted to do this, and it says play any card as if it was already, as if you were activating it, and you had paid for it. I was going to go in and get my big hitter, which is Sinking Sands, but that is my Scrapper's card. So actually, I played that sort of out of alignment. So,
but if instead of him moving there, if he had moved to there,
which was really what I was thinking of doing.
But then you went, oh no, let me move backwards.
Right. So unfortunately, I am
advancing the opposite direction.
Advancing in the opposite direction. So I am going to have to get him out of there by going 1. And I know the Ravenous will chase me, but I'll set myself up hopefully for next turn to do something similar. And because I know I could have killed him. So that was kind of a, but I didn't expect him to drop on me that way.
Right.
Okay.
All right. So let's get ready for our
final round, unless we can do something about it.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
All right. So I need
5.
to play that. Can't do that. There's 2. All right. I'm going to discard 2.
Okay.
All right. So I've got 4 cards. So I will draw up.
Okay, we're going to move. We're getting ready for the final turn. If we can't affect the corruption track, so we're at 12. Things are looking pretty grim for our stalwart heroes. And we rolled really bad. We did not roll well.
Oh boy.
Recall is probably not going to save my life.
So that.
Actually, I can get it off, so that's fine. 12, 14. I'm going to get beaten. Block that. Swing that.
That. That. And everything else is going into movement because I need to hightail it.
I could do that. Which might just make sense to do. It's the Ravenous' defense. Oh, flippity-doo. I would say have 3 wounds.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got 3.
Yep. Okay. So, now we're going to set our creatures up. 2 for the slow guys.
Ooh, Ravenous is going on 5.
And then
Boss is going
Boss
first.
goes 7, so he's going to absolutely go first. I have 1 in my scrapper. Your scrapper is set at 4, so I'm going to go first with Fog of War.
Okay.
Smoke. Line of sight is reduced to 3 on this tile. I will keep that because it really doesn't matter for me. My stuff's all hand to hand, I think.
And we lose.
Advanced corruption track?
Yep.
Okay.
So I drew shifting gates. Move all open gates. Move along the corresponding gate. So the gate would have shifted.
To where?
It would have corresponding gate color along the B track.
Oh.
So it would have gone to there. So if we had not had to advance the corruption track,
Yep.
that actually would have been a huge benefit to us. But because we didn't watch that corruption track early on and try and shift it down, we got screwed in the end.
And I had cards that I used for other purposes.
I
because
was all set to reduce corruption track.
we had the cards in hand that we could have done, or I had them early on, but it gets away from you. It starts to move, and
Yep. And a 2-player game, when you've only got up to that 12,
yep.
you've got to really keep an eye on it. When you've got 3 and 4 players and you can move up to 18, it's a little bit easier.
Yeah, and everybody has this set of cards, so you can look at somebody and go, "Are you got it this turn? Because I can't help." And you have 4 people with options. There's 24 cards in your hand. Somebody probably has 1 that'll help. But in this case, in a 2-player game where it's a real struggle to keep control of the environment, it just turned out that we just didn't. I threw something away that I should have kept, and it ended up biting me in the rear end. So,
Yep.
So that's Desolate Front, the first of a series of playtests we're going to do. We're also going to do one with a 4-player game. We'll show you how boards set up a little bit differently. And down the line, we'll introduce a new scenario. But this is really to get us ready for PAX, which we're going to be at, Rich, on what dates?
That is the last couple of days of November, first weekend in December.
Right, and we're going to have a booth there, Rat Trap Productions,
Yes.
and you can come there. And we're also going to have one of the lead artists on the game.
Yep, Anwar should be there. He's supposedly coming up from the Carolinas for it. I don't have that fully confirmed yet.
We're hoping. And if so, hopefully we'll have some things that you can get from him, or even maybe some of our own pieces here that he can sign, and for a couple of dollars you might be able to pick up if you like some of the artwork, which we're absolutely in love with.
Yes.
So that's it for tonight. We appreciate you taking a few minutes to look at this, and we'll catch you next time on the Desolate Front.